Okay, so today we're going to continue with what we were working on yesterday, which is testing the phone call functionality between two devices. I was testing it on my personal, like my phone and my computer, but I think what I need to do is actually test it on two physical devices. So that's going to be the goal today, just get it to run on two devices and see if an actual phone call goes through, which I think it will. I think I've solved this. I think it works. It's just that I need to actually test it to make sure that it really does work. But I can't really see why it wouldn't work. I think what the problem is that the simulator on the computer, I think there's something about Apple products that doesn't allow the simulators to access the microphone properly. I think that's the case. I think I read that somewhere. So that would be why there's no voice coming through from the computer microphone to my phone. But the other way around works. So I think if I have two physical devices, it should work. So that's what we're going to test. And then we can move on to building out the actual UI for the app and some more specific features for it. Because then we have basically got everything, most of like the difficult backend stuff, I think, is done. And we can move on to the specifics of the UI in the front end. But before doing that, I just wanted to mention a little bit about why I'm doing this video series and why I'm doing it on a new channel. I've talked about that before, but I think it's just worth mentioning again, because I think it's something that, I don't know, I think maybe it's something that is good to explain a little bit. And my idea is just that the whole concept behind this channel is that I think it would be so cool to have a video series where I document every single line of code that's written on a full production app. So going from nothing to a full production app and having every single line of code documented and out for the world to see. I think it's an incredibly cool concept in my head. And I think it's a cool concept even if the app doesn't become like the next Facebook. I always use that example, but even if that's not the case, I think it still is really interesting, because I don't think there are many, I don't know that there are many other channels at all that have done anything like that, where they've documented every single line, especially in this like raw format where I basically don't edit the videos. And yeah, I just think it's really cool. I think it's cool to document the actual process as well, so that you can see like this is how fast or slow it is, at least for me. And I also think that showing the rawness of this and like the days where I don't get anything done, even though I work on it all day, I don't get the simulator to run or something like that. I think it's good to show that, because I think a lot of people, I mean, if I get to the point where I have a fully published app, or when I get to that point, then if I made a video about the entire process and turned it into like a 10-minute video, then it'd be very easy to look at that and be very overwhelmed when you start doing it yourself, because you realize like, oh, this is so much work. And you watch the 10-minute video of me doing it and it seems like, well, it was so easy for Cal to do it. How come I can't do it? Or how come it feels way bigger or more difficult to me? It looked like it just took a week for him to do it. I think that's the pitfall with those sort of videos that I typically will make, even though I try to show the process and like the errors that I run into or whatever. I think sometimes it can seem like the whole thing is way easier than it actually is. But in this case, if I've documented every single line of code from day one until it's published, then you can just go back, you can watch it, and you can see like, okay, it actually took him like 200 days or whatever to get this app built. And you can also see how little I get done every single day, and still manage to create a fully finished app, which I also think is really cool, because I think something that I've learned more lately is that it's not so much about doing 12-hour days. Like sometimes I can tend to set goals that are like unrealistic, where it's like, okay, I'm going to do 10 hours every single day, and then I'm going to edit videos on top of that as well. Like that might work for a week, it might work for 2 weeks, but then typically what ends up happening is you just fall off and you stop working on it, and then you don't make any progress. But I think things like habits that I've built, which is like Duolingo. I've done Duolingo. I've got a 370 or something day streak on Duolingo, trying to learn Spanish, which is literally all I do is one lesson a day. That's the only goal that I have, or the only requirement for me. Just do one lesson per day, which takes maybe a minute, 2 minutes. And what's really cool is that, well, after a week, you won't have learned Spanish. And maybe even after a year, like I still don't know Spanish. I know a lot more Spanish, and I'm way better than I was last year at this time. But I'm not fluent in it. But if I continue doing that little tiny effort every single day, then 2 years, 3 years from now, I will probably learn or be able to speak fairly well in Spanish. And the same thing goes with like reading, is something that I've started doing. That was years ago now, but I started doing it every single night before bed, just reading until I fell asleep. And that little tiny like 5 minutes, 10 minutes of reading has gotten me through so many books that, and it's also gotten me into reading in a whole different way. So now I read at other times as well. But it's incredible how that tiny, tiny effort of 10 minutes per day will get you through like a 600-page book. It will take some time, but you'll get through it, and you'll actually get through it probably quicker than you'd think, which I think is the cool thing. And that's what I think the purpose of a video series like this can be, which is that you can see that, okay, this day he only did 2 hours of work, and this day he did 1 hour of work, and this day he did 4 hours of work. And at the end of it, I still got a fully published app done. And I don't know, I think there's value in showing that, in showing the value, the actual value of the consistent effort. Now, my real ambition too is that like I want this to be a great app and something that actually becomes a real thing, not like the next Facebook, but like a real app that people start using and it becomes a thing. And if that ends up happening, then imagine, like, I just think it would be the coolest thing in the world to see if like Mark Zuckerberg would have had a vlog or something back in the day where he just documented the days where he was building Facebook. And I think a lot of people would agree with me that you would probably watch that YouTube channel. You wouldn't watch it on day one where he hasn't built anything. You would now, but if the next blah, blah, blah Mark Zuckerberg comes along and starts a YouTube channel today, you probably wouldn't be very interested in watching the first video. You wouldn't be interested in watching the second video. But maybe at some point on video 1000 or on the launch of that app or the launch of that company where it actually becomes something, then all of a sudden day one of that vlog or YouTube channel has a lot of value and people will go back and watch that. So that's the idea. Now, I've said a lot of these things before, so I feel a bit hesitant with everything that I'm saying, but I think this schedule that I'm doing right now is sustainable, and I like coding apps, and the videos that I'm making right now, there's not that much effort in it. So I can put more effort into the actual coding and less effort into the video making part, which I think is probably the right way to go anyway. I really like making great videos and like editing it in certain ways and like using different angles and all kinds of different things, lighting and whatever. But I think I want to switch to, like, you can either focus on the product. Okay, the camera died, but I think that as a YouTuber, as someone making the kind of videos that I make, you have two options. You can either focus on the content of the video, like what are you actually building, or you can focus on the video itself, like making a video that's interesting, because you can make an interesting video about nothing. That is possible, or you can make a how would I explain it? It's not like an uninteresting video about something and an interesting video about nothing, but it's okay, so you can take something that is like cleaning your room or something, and the way that you film it and edit it can make that very interesting, and it can make it like a viral video even. But the other way to do it also is that you could make something that's crazy, like, I don't know, like the people building houses out of like wood that they chop themselves out in the forest. That's a case where the actual content or the thing that they're doing is so crazy or cool that the video or the way that it's edited and filmed or whatever doesn't matter as much because the content is so cool. That's why like you can make certain videos about like the more unique the idea that you have is, the more likely that people will watch it. For instance, something like I practice guitar every single day for 1,000 days. That video doesn't necessarily need to be edited super well because a lot of people will be very interested in like, well, how much progress can you make in 1,000 days? If you limit it even more to like, I did 5 minutes a day for 1,000 days, then that will be even more interesting because people are like, well, 5 minutes isn't that much. But the thing that makes it interesting is the effort that's put in, and it's difficult to just replicate that video because you need to spend 1,000 days, which takes 1,000 days to do. And so that's sort of what I'm thinking here, is that maybe I should just focus on the actual content, like focus on, as in the contents of the video, like focus on building a really good app and just document it in whatever way is easiest. And hopefully by the end, when I've built an app that's actually interesting or cool, then it will be interesting to watch in retrospect, if that makes sense. That's the idea. And that's my thinking. That was a long ramble, but let's start the day. Okay, so we're going to try to run it on my iPad. And then we're going to run it on my phone, and we're going to try to do a call between these two devices. Hopefully, that will be it. And we'll have tested and made sure that we have a working app. All right, now we have it running on the iPad. Great. Now we disconnect this and we see if we can run it on the phone. All right, it's the moment of truth. We're just waiting for it to launch. Okay. All right, I'm going to press join channel now. If this works, then we should hear my voice come out of that phone or that device. And we should also hear something come out of this device. So yeah, let's press join channel. Hello? 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 It works. I don't know. Okay, it's really annoying hearing my own voice, but it works. That's really good. It means that calling between two devices works. I mean, I was pretty sure that this worked already, but it's a relief. I mean, this is... I feel like I need to just wallow in this a little bit to just, or like sit in it to appreciate the fact that like this is the major part of this app. I think it's interesting that you guys don't know what the app is yet. I will say that someone has guessed it right. I won't say on which channel or on what video they commented on, but there's been a comment that actually guessed the app idea correctly. maybe it's obvious to a lot of people, I don't know, but either way, I will reveal that much, that someone has guessed it right. And this is the major part of the app. Like, this is the main feature. So now the next thing is going to be to just get the UI set up so that we actually have it looking the way that I want it to look. So this is pretty cool. Hallå. Hallå, hallå. Hallå, hallå, hallå. Hallå, 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 hallå. Hallå, hallå. Hallå. Okay. So we are getting volume information, which you can see here. Every time I say something, we get a number that pops up here. We could go here and just delete that. And then join the channel. And now you can see we just get the volume information, but we don't seem to be doing anything with any sort of animation, which means that there's something going on that the volume indication doesn't get sent to the actual widget thing, I think. So we're gonna try to fix that. All right, we're getting line heights. So we seem to be getting something here, but it doesn't seem to change or update. So the next way to check this is to delete that, to go to the actual waveform and see what happens here if we get in here or not. Hallå? Hallå, 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 hallå. Hallå. Okay, so it seems like we don't change this at least. Hello? Hello? All right, this is the audio levels. All right, I wasn't really able to get that to work, but we're at least getting information about the volume, which is a really good thing because now it's just about passing that information to our widget that we want to animate. And once we can do that, then we'll get the waveform animation to work, which shouldn't be too difficult. I have been struggling with it now for about an hour, but I think it shouldn't be too difficult. And I'm also getting hungry. I should have eaten about an hour ago, but I wanted to finish this. But now I feel like it's better to just eat and come back to this tomorrow, and hopefully, most likely, this will be fixed within like a few minutes, I think, tomorrow. So, yeah, still made a bit of progress today, and I'm pretty happy with it. So we'll see you in the next video.